Before we get started, just heads up to everyone, 1 minute warning. Carol is a stickler for time, so if there's anything we have to start on time, it's probably today. So if you could find a seat, please, that would be lovely. Cool. Magic. Second time around, hopefully we can kick things off now. Excuse me, I should have done this earlier. Firstly, good morning everyone. Thank you so much for coming today, wearing such beautiful clothes and outfits when we celebrate a very special lady. So thank you all for coming. Firstly, for those of you who are not sure who the bearded man is with a funny accent, my name is Dwight Egelhoff. I'm Carl, or Spitzy, depending how you know him. I'm his son, and our stepson to Carol. I'll just be helping everyone run through the events today and get through everything. Just a few housekeeping things before we kick off fully today. Please just make sure cell phones are on silent. We'd hate for today to be interrupted by that fantastic sound that is a ringtone. Secondly, bathrooms, you all would have seen them as you've come through, but if you exit through this door to the right, and they're well marketed there if you do need to get to the bathrooms. If you get the urge to smoke or have a vape, please do fight it. If you fail in fighting it, please, outside is where that will be demarcated for you. In case the smokers fail and they set off the smoke alarm, please let's all exit in an orderly fashion. Just listen to the staff here at Royal. They're incredibly well trained and will help us what to do. If you have a tendency to panic and run, please be aware those are glass doors and try your best not to spill your drink. There's also an attendance book at the front. If anyone had seen it, please do feel free to complete that. Leave a message for Carol or the family. That book will stay in the family as an heirloom. So please, over the course of today, if you could put some notes in there, that would be fantastic. One other thing, this being South Africa, load shedding scheduled for 12 o'clock. There will be just a brief shutdown quickly. The generators will then kick in. Unfortunately, aircons don't work too well on generators, but hopefully that won't be too bad and the staff will make sure the doors are open. Just a few acknowledgements I would like to make. First and foremost, to Carol's most precious gifts that are here. Claire is here, my dad, Cole, and Scott. It's obviously been a very tough few weeks for all of them. So just thank you guys for being here and getting through today. Especially Scott, he's come out all the way from Vietnam where he now resides. Also here is Peter. Peter is Carol's brother, and we'll be hearing from him shortly. And then I'd also just like to acknowledge those that have come from far away. My own brother, Miles, and his wife, Kath, who have come out from Ireland. My wife, Karina, who's helped extend our stay that we can be here longer. As well as Richard, Corin, Debbie, Helene and Chris, who are all up here from Cape Town. And then just so you know, this has also been live streamed. So just acknowledging those people on live stream, ranging all the way from New Zealand, Australia, the Netherlands and Argentina, as well as regional South Africa. So this will be available 48 hours afterwards, still on there. And then if you would like to review or know you would like to share it with anyone, please just do reach out and we can share the existing link with you. That will be up. Then lastly, just a couple of apologies. We had from Jenny Main, Rex Tweedy and Lee Park, Margaret and Corsi, Martin and Elise Evans, Elrina and Kun Karlitz, and then Leslie Roberts. And Leslie left us with this beautiful quote that just said, "A single rose can make a garden, a single friend can make my world." So with those formalities out the way, we can now just get on with celebrating the wonderful and beautiful person that was Carol Jean Lewis. Maku I kia atu, he tangata, he tangata, he tangata. That is a Maori proverb, and it's a Maori proverb that is central to the Maori way of life. It means the most important thing in the world, it is the people, it is the people, it is the people. It places people, be that individuals, families, or communities, at the center of everything we do. And with that, I couldn't think of anything more fitting or more apt for today. This is a room full of people that were individuals who loved Carol or were loved by Carol, her family, immediate, extended, and blended, as well as all the various communities that Carol was always actively involved in and invariably ended up organizing and leading. So thank you all for being here today. I think this provides us a great opportunity to celebrate, but also with that proverb, it places at the forefront care and care of people. And with that, it's lifting people up, empowering them, and looking after their overall well-being. And I'm sure everyone in this room would understand and appreciate that we all benefited from that, because that was very much Carol's way of life. We all benefited from her kindness, her warmth, and her love. She wanted everyone in this room to be cared, to be uplifted, and to be empowered. So now, with that, let us move on. Let us come together as a community, as a family, and as individuals, and let's find out and celebrate the beautiful person that was Carol. And no better way to do that than hearing about those that were closest to her. Obviously, I'll be here to just help and back up people. So please, some patience would be appreciated. But first off, the big man himself. Carol's rocked by her side for the past 22 years. My dad, Cole Egelhoff.
Good morning, everyone. I wasn't sure if it got to 12 o'clock yet. 12 o'clock, there's load shedding until 2. So that's fine. The lights are on. We can drink until whenever. Just got to change this a bit. If you're wondering why this is a non-religious gathering, Carol found out late in her life from her father that she was Jewish. Her mother was Jewish, and in the Jewish faith, your mother carries the religion to you, not the father. So, being Carol, she decided she always asks questions and always wants to know everything. Sorry, can you guys hear at the back there? So she went to a rabbi and said to the rabbi, look, I've got a problem. I'm Jewish, but I was married to a Catholic, and so what do I do? And the rabbi, being a rabbi, said, well, my girl, you can choose. You're lucky. I thought, oh God, I'm so pleased she didn't ask the priest that question. So that I can read. Carol, as we all know, had many attributes. She was a mother, a keeper, a lover, a woman extraordinaire. I'll get back to those. The next thing, lots of people have asked us how we met. Quite easy. The older generation now will know those little love story books you used to get, boy meets girl, girl marries boy, or on the beach. And we went on holiday in Sinsa, and we met at a braai and we chatted for a long time. And we got back here, and friends found out individually that we'd always been speaking about each other. So they organized a braai for us. We got together again, and the rest is history. I'm here after 23 years, and people wanted to know why we never got married. Well, I thought 23 years is more than most people are married for. So, at first it's not plain sailing. Living with Carol is quite difficult. Carol's greatest aim in the beginning was to get the kids to like each other. It took me a long time to convince her that it was not up to her to do that. Only they could do that. And this was her caring side. But boy, did she run a tight ship. Everything had a place, and no wet towels on the bed. I think most men suffer from that affliction. Your towel comes and lands on the bed. Then her legendary list to do every day. She had these lists and always achieved about a 90% finish to achieve on that day. I soon started writing my own list, but shorter, of course. But somehow embellishments landed up on that list. So my list got longer and longer each day. This, you've got to believe. Many of you were there. Our first date was Chris Huddy's 60th birthday. But that morning I'd run a 50-kilometer race, the Omdi Dam. So getting to the party, still very dehydrated and that. So I drank many beers to get myself right. It was that bad. When we got into the car, I couldn't put the key in the ignition. I had my fingers over the ignition dry. So I said, look, you better drive. And so, well, she must have seen something in me to convince her that I was not too bad. And we started dating after that. I don't know what you call when you're older, is it dating still? Travel. Carol loved to travel. When she worked at Ster-Kinekor, she had the good fortune of going to the Cairns Film Festival. She later described the scene, the rich and famous, but in their, sorry guys, in their true colors. Arrogant, high, drunk, looking down on normal people as low lives. In spite of that, she loved the entire scene and cracked a nod to the Disney 3-story yacht. And she said, yeah, the cheapest drinks were probably Dom Perignon. So had a wonderful time. Then she also went with other friends to Sardinia, Malaysia, and Israel. On all this travel introduced her to the travel bug. In 2014, we traveled to Thailand, a wonderful trip. Neither of us have been to the East, so this made it more special. Friends of Carol who have traveled often, Silly being one of them, is here today. They took under their wing and gave us a magical time and taught us how to barter and where to go. Yeah, that was, I can explain. They phoned for a vehicle for the day, and we get Toyota Quantum. Don't pay for the petrol, go the whole day with a driver. It came to the large amount of 600 Rand. That was incredible. But the east we went to wasn't Near East in Bedford View, or the Middle East in Boksburg, or the Far East in Brakpan. This was the real East. Yeah, then we went to Phuket, which is, everybody rates it highly. Yeah, the beach was fine, beautiful hotels, but the Russian mafia have taken over the whole town. So all the tuk-tuks where we were paying 10 or 20 baht was suddenly 300 or 40 baht, and then 200 baht. And they said, no, all the tuk-tuks belong to the Russians. And so that was disappointing. But then Bangkok, on the other hand, is what we expected. Noisy, bustling, a 24-hour playground. And we didn't go to that red light district. I think if I was on my own, I might have snuck off there. And 24-hour playground, and the food was exceptional and inexpensive. The two of us then choose to go to a massage, and not one of those with a happy finish. I chose, unfortunately, a Thai massage. I've never been hurt that much in my life. I don't know if you've seen it. They put their knee in the back and they pull you by the shoulders, and Carol's finished first, and she came and watched this great glee. And then the masseuse, she said to me, speak very little English. She said, "Oh, where are you from?" So I said, "South Africa." And she stopped and he looked at me, but I was white. You know, she couldn't believe, she couldn't work out that there were white people in South Africa. Yeah, we'd had one massage on the beach where we first landed, and that was on the beach. They put a mat down and the massage was fantastic. The whole place, we really enjoyed it. Carol was in the element of, traveling. The East, really, she saw sides of that and food she'd never seen before. And Carol traveling, if you think she enjoyed life here, you should have seen her there. She was over the moon. And then in 2017, Croatia was next on our list after Mark, Yaman and Mandy had extolled the virtues of their vacation there. So off we went. She savoured every minute of this trip. She was like a kid in the candy store. Everything was brand new, touching, feeling. And then the 7-day trip to all the islands. It was the highlight for her. And for some time, long time ago, one of her boyfriends hailed from one of the islands in the Adriatic. After the boat trip, we went to Oh, and on the one island, they mine this white rock. Not rock, it's almost like sandstone. We found out that the White House is actually built from all that stone from the island, so they don't have to paint it or do anything. And then we hired a car and went up to Pitchfield Lake and the waterfalls, and we've never seen anything like this. And we spent 2 days just walking around the waterfalls. It was fantastic. And from there we hired a car and we drove to Zagreb. I'd been driving until then, but driving on the right-hand side is not fun. So Carol had to drive on the right-hand side. I've never seen anybody that nervous. And when we got to Zagreb, she was wrecked. I said to her, stay on the pavement side, and she'd pull over and the cars would be coming at her. But she was an absolute wreck. Come 2019, we had a trip to France to do barging and sightseeing. This was a dream come true of our lifetime. And we had Karina and Dwight, my son, married, and we had my son Miles, who's not married yet, but his future wife was with us, and Carol and myself. It was fabulous because we spent 24/7 just with your family. You know, normally when you travel, they go somewhere else and you go. And then we took advice from Savides and from Rob Ransom, many of you know, and they told us to go in the river and not through the rocks. And that was great. Every night pulling into a marina, filling up the water, checking the electricity, the batteries, and off to fabulous restaurants. And Kath is a foodie of note. So she would every town look up restaurants, and cost us lots of money, but the food and the people were fantastic. And then after that we stayed and we traveled by train. And then we found an 18-kilo case was impossible in France. Every Airbnb are 2 or 3 stories up, and we had to lug these things. It was not easy. And the stations as well, they've got different platforms and stairs. But you know, the French were fantastic. You always hear that the French are arrogant and they never speak. The very first day going up the stairs to the platform, this guy came out, Madame, taking the suitcase. Carol saying, leave my case alone. Like she thought she was back in South Africa. But it was fantastic. They helped us in every which way they could. They showed us to the right platform and how to read those tickets. They're quite tricky. And the people on the trains were fantastic. We'd ask them which platform. And if they couldn't speak English, they'd run off and find somebody who could speak English and bring them to us to translate. They were fabulous. The young people that, you know, so whenever I heard that the French were up to no good, they were fantastic. And Carol found the cathedrals fascinating. You know, even with the non-sort of religious thing, those buildings are exceptional. And the museums, the Roman museums. Yeah, for us it was a dream come true. Wonderful food and wine made us think that we had died and gone to heaven. It was fantastic. Then 2022, wonderful. Our trip to New Zealand, what is there to say? Family, it's not a typo. Our first grandchild, a whole new adventure awaiting us. Carol had never been to New Zealand. So this beautiful country was just made for her. She loved every minute, every tree. It was just fantastic. She was like Alice in Wonderland. She found people friendly and could not remember getting bad service. She said to one woman one day in the shop, "Why are you people so friendly and nice?" I said, "It doesn't take anything to be like that." Which I thought was fantastic. And then all the questions. The Maori women now have these tattoos down. It looks like the tin you get of Monster in green. It's exactly like that. So she went to a woman and said, "What is that tattoo about?" Because we heard it was if you were a princess or, geez, there are bloody lot of princesses there. But the woman explained if you were the firstborn or whatever. But tattoos in New Zealand. I found 3 things in New Zealand: sandals, short pants, and tattoos. And then we discovered New Zealand was the land of the free. The milk was free, no lactose, free of gluten, free of sodium, free. But it wasn't free when we went shopping. Bloody expensive. It's quite fascinating. The first stop, we flew to Queenstown and spent a few days. Fantastic. There's so much money. I'd been to New Zealand twice before, and it was an agricultural economy. Not poor, but very basic. Go there now, there's money you can't believe, and motor cars are up to date and fancy cars, but the Americans and the Australians are pumping money into their houses and everything. We drove, this camper van was fantastic. We just drove up. And the first camp we stopped at, there was a young Dutch couple sitting next to us, an American couple, and they were talking. And they were saying in New Zealand, the food in New Zealand is more expensive than Holland and or America. So I don't know if it's all the import they have to do or whatever. The food is great, but expensive. But beautiful, beautiful country. We drove up to the lake districts, and there, Carol, I mean, she could have walked the whole thing just looking at the mountains and the snow caps and Mount Cook. It was a wonderful trip. From there we drove across to the east coast to Timaru. And we're in a campsite. Now, if you can believe, you're in a campsite, it's not big. We can't find our spot, number 21. We drive and drive around. So there's a guy on a lawnmower driving. So we called him and we said, "Do you know where this site 21 is?" "No, I don't know, but yeah, I'll find it." And we said, "Oh, you're South African?" "Yeah." So we said, "How long have you been here?" He says, "I don't know, it was 12 or 14. He says, "But this is the land of milk and honey, I'm telling you." Second time we'd heard that. So he eventually found it. And he said, "No, man, we're okay. Up in the next town, I got my own Domini, and the guys from the Oamaru come down, and it's lekker, man." So I was everywhere we went, every shop, doctor or physio, there were South Africans working, and there must be 1 million there. But the first 2 days we walked. The first day we got lost. With my knee, we walked about 7 k's, and the next day 3 k's, and then my knee said, "You can't walk anymore," which was a pity because they were beautiful walks and cycling tracks there. We landed up, Carol, we went to Hobbiton, where they shot all the movies. And
Lord of the Rings.
yeah, and it was a 2.5 hour tour. So Carol said, I said, go and do it. It's 2.5. I've got a book. There's probably a beer inside somewhere, and I could read and wait. No, no, no. This is the caring part. No, I'm not leaving you here for 2.5 hours. So unfortunately, she missed it. I mean, she should have done it. Because who knows when you get to one of those sites that they did all the filming in New Zealand. And she thought 2.5 months in New Zealand was far too long. We need to get home, we need to come back. 2.5 months worked out. It was the last week of the low fares in November. When we flew back, it was the first week of the low fares. But by the end of 2 months, 2.5 months, a week left, we thought, God, there's still so much to do which we hadn't done. And it was just a fabulous place to tour, and having the family there was fantastic. I'm just so glad that we made this long trip. We was meeting our first granddaughter, and she was taken to Carol like a duck to water. They loved each other, did everything. And then 2.5 months wasn't long. And then her back was hurting, and what she called a bump cheek was very sore. By the time we get home, she had to go for the op. And yeah, so we all know what happened. It was very sad. And she missed our second grandchild, our first boy, by a few days. When Miles arrived from Ireland with, when I say little baby, it wasn't. He was born at over 4 kilos. He was 4.5 kilos, 54 centimeters long. I didn't ask Kath how that was because I can't imagine. So, but they're here with Oliver now. And yeah, Carol missed him by a few days. It was such a pity. I pondered one night and thought, you don't sleep much. And I thought, we could have had this memorial about 2 years ago, about 3 years ago. What happened was I'm in my office, past the bedroom. Carol's, her sundowner was lying in a hot bath with a book and read. Probably she fell asleep, but the books never fell in the water. And I hear the screaming, Carl, Carl. So desperate, I thought, what the hell? But there had just been a huge thunder, probably the loudest thunder flash I'd ever heard, and this lightning strike right above the house. So I run to the bathroom, open the door, Carol's lying there. She says, I've been struck by lightning, I've been struck. So I stand there, godsmacked, looking. I said, well, then you should be dead. Sure. Out the bath, got into bed, and yeah, then the body started twitching all over. And then the doctor the next day confirmed that it was a lightning strike. I told you, I've never seen that again in my life. I stood there, I've been struck by lightning. She had a foot on the little brass spout that came into the bath. And the secondary strike came through there. All she had was a burn on her toe. So this we could have had a long time ago. Well, I lost a true partner in as much as a lover, a soulmate, and she was truly an acceptable
This is just Dad's words, so goodbye, my darling. Wherever you were, we will meet again, but hopefully not too soon. So thanks for that, Dad. I didn't realise Carol turned you into a travel guide. It's lovely, so thank you, but we better catch up on time. One thing I will tell you that they won't admit, but when they rented the camper van, it took them half an hour to bump into someone else and give them my phone number. But don't worry, got you covered.
That machine is so long. Double beds, kitchen.
The less spoken about them driving my electric car, even better. So yeah. But with that, time for our next speaker. Someone who's known Carol her whole life, her older brother, Peter. Difference in height, yes.
Absolutely. Thanks very much. Thanks, Dwight. Hi, everybody. As you heard, my name is Peter, and I'm Carol's brother. And I've been asked by Carl and Claire and Scott just to say a few words about Carol and my parents. And unfortunately, especially for the early days, it's not a happy story, and I know we're trying to make this a happy occasion, but that's how it is. But before I start, I'd like to offer my deepest condolences to Carl and Claire and Scott, and also to Dwight and his family, and Miles and his family, and of course to all of you. And so many friends, just amazing. It really is just amazing. And of course I'd like to thank Dwight for all the help he's done, all the work he's done for the family in these last few weeks. It's just been absolutely awesome, so thanks very much, Dwight. You know, they say whenever you make a talk or a speech, you actually make 3 talks. It's the one that you prepare, the one that you talk about, which is the one that you're listening to now, and the best one of all is the one in the car on the way home. I should have said this and I didn't say that. What about? But okay, so you've got to hear the middle one, so that's it. So Mom and Dad, as you heard from Carl, Carol and I are Jewish. A bit of background to that. Mom and Dad were born in the city of Breslau, which is in the province of Silesia in Germany. They knew each other there. I'm not too sure when they met and when they started dating, but the stories I heard was they used to go skating and hiking and climbing and all that sort of stuff. And then in 1933, Hitler came to power, and of course we all know what the Nazis' thing on the Jews was, and of course Mom and Dad and our grandparents suffered a lot from the Nazi regime and all that was happening there. Carol and I have never met our grandparents. They either died in the camps, committed suicide, or got out but died as a result of the torture they endured in the camps. That was our grandparents. Mom and Dad managed to get out of Germany, and it wasn't that easy. Dad got out in 1936, and the story went that he had to go through Holland, and that the Nazis were after him for whatever reason. So he had to reroute himself, but he managed to get out through Rotterdam and came to South Africa. He had an elder brother, Uncle Carl, who was already here, so that's how he got into South Africa. Mom left in 1939, just before the war started, and she went to England. And she was there during the course of the Second World War. They both joined the army in the respective countries while they were there. And of course, they both had to learn English. They were both, of course, German speaking, and they had to learn English. But they were remarkable. I mean, I don't know how long it took them, but I remember when we used to play Scrabble at home, invariably Dad would put down all 7 letters of some word there that most of us had never heard of, but it was in the dictionary, and it was a real English word. And I just remember those days. So he always won the Scrabble. Dad's mom's name was Marianne, Marianne, her maiden name was Rosenthal. So there's some Judaism there somewhere. And Dad's first name was Ulrich, a very German name. And he was known by his friends in Germany as Uli, U-L-L-Y. When he came to South Africa and joined the army, his compatriots in the forces couldn't say Uli, so they used to call him Willie, which became Bill. And he was known as Bill to so many people in this country. And I want no comments about Willie, thank you very much. Okay. Dad was stationed in Kenya on his way to North Africa to fight the Nazis. He contracted malaria there and was sent back to South Africa without ever getting up to the north. And he suffered from malaria for many, many years. Mom and Dad wrote to each other as much as they could under the circumstances. And of course it was all snail mail and not the modern electronic world that we have today. And they decided to get married. Mom in England and Dad here in South Africa. So they got married by proxy, with Mom standing in the court or in front of the judge or in the UK, and Dad in the court here in Johannesburg in front of the magistrate. And Dad often joked that he said he was not going to kiss the magistrate. The mom did eventually arrive here. She actually arrived here on the 6th of June 1946. For the older folks who know something about, or maybe younger folks who know something about the Second World War, that was exactly 1 year after D-Day when the Germans surrendered to the Allies. And she always considered that date as the date of her anniversary, because that's when she re-met Dad. And she arrived in Cape Town by boat. There was no air travel in those days like we have today. Air travel was mainly for the war effort, but not for public transport. They moved to Johannesburg, and they had 2 children. First me. I was born on the 20th of October 1948. We stayed in a bachelor apartment in the CBD. I still remember the name, don't know why. It's called Atlantic Court. I don't know if it's still there, probably not. So there were 3 of us in this bachelor flat. Eventually they got enough money and moved to Parkhurst, where Carol was born on June 29, 1953. And that's where we grew up in Parkhurst. And there are many people here who will tell you a lot more about that, Carol's friends, etc. They arrived here with nothing and little education, but they made a life for themselves. And we never lacked, Carol and I never lacked anything. They were quite remarkable people, and for me, very, very brave people. In the early days, Dad had his own business, fixing typewriters, and eventually he learned how to sell and became a very good salesman. And the organization where he learned how to sell through was called Elmer Wheeler, which is a sort of kind of like Dale Carnegie kind of organization, but pointed more towards sales and things like that. And eventually he was running the Elmer Wheeler franchise in South Africa. So he did very well with that. Unfortunately, they got divorced a bit later. They had an affair, and they got divorced. Mom suffered from severe depression, both from the Holocaust. She told me that told us that she had turned grey when she was in her teens, and that was from the worry and the concern, and of course with the divorce, that really depressed her. And I was walkabout, and I won't get into the details of that. This is not my story. And Carol looked after Mom, and she was actually tremendous. But you heard from Carl what kind of person she is, and I'm sure you hear from other people about her kindness and her caring. She and Dad were very, very close. And I know almost towards the end, when I used to visit the family in Edenvale, we used to talk about our parents, and she used to say that she missed Dad very, very much. She really did, and they were very, very close, which is really tremendous. I'm not going to talk that much about Carol. There are people here that will talk about Carol from the early days. Some of her old school friends or even preschool friends are here, and so they'll be talking about her. But just a couple of incidents. one incident I remember, and goodness me, it was a long time ago. I was in Standard 4. We both went to Parkhurst Primary School. I was in Standard 4, and Carol was in grade 1. And there was a knock. One day there was a knock on the door of my classroom, and there was Carol's teacher with Carol in tow, coming in. And my teacher said, "What's this?" And she says, "I can't handle this girl anymore. I'm taking her to her brother." It was resolved, but that was one incident that stood out. Carol often used to say to me, "But you're the clever one. You passed matric, you went to university, blah blah blah," and all that sort of stuff. And I had to remind her where that got me. And several people in this room know my story, but I say, "Ian, this is not my story. This is Carol's." And I'd remind Carol that she did so well in all the jobs that she had. She became a director at Stair Kennecore, so many other things, so many friends, and I mean a lot of you are here today. So she had nothing to be jealous about or envious about in her brother. In fact, it should be the other way around. It really should be. Just an amazing person. Carol for me was a very special person. She always had my back. Through thick and thin, and she was a sister. Well, she was my sister. She was a friend, and she was a confidant. I often shared things with Carol that I wouldn't share with anybody else. And sometimes I didn't even get an answer. It was just a listening ear. And other times she would share with me what she thought about something. So I'd just like to say to Carol, and I knew you as Kay, this is goodbye, but not farewell. And just to say thank you, Carol, for who you are. And an old Arab saying that I heard a long time ago is, "We salute you and we thank you for your life." And I'd just like to end off with a poem that was given to me many years ago when a very good friend died. And it's a poem by Henry Scott Holland, and it's called "All Is Well." And it says, "Death is nothing at all. I've only slipped away to the next room. I am I and you are you. Whatever we were to each other, that we still are. Call me by my old familiar name. Speak to me in the easy way which you always used. Put no difference into your tone. Wear no forced air of solemnity or sorrow. Laugh as we have always laughed at the little jokes we enjoy together. Play, smile, think of me. Pray for me. Let my name be ever in the household world that it always was. Let it be spoken without effect, without the trace of a shadow on it. Life means all that it ever meant. It is the same that it ever was. There's absolute unbroken continuity. Why should I be out of mind because I'm out of sight? I am but waiting for you for an interval, somewhere very near, just round the corner. All is well. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter, for that honesty and just beautiful words. I hope that's given everyone a bit more of a better understanding who didn't know of Carol's upbringing and background. Well, Carol now enjoyed a lot of things, and she did a lot of things, but I know the one thing she enjoyed most was spending time with her partner in crime, her youngest child, her daughter, Claire Lewis.
I don't know how this is going to go. Okay. So after the past 10 days, I've been deliberating how I say goodbye to the most important person in my life, and how I express what she meant to me. But I feel like no words can encapsulate that, so this is my best attempt. If I had to find one word that describes my mother, it would be magic. If you look up synonyms of magic, it's like a long list of adjectives that describe precisely who my mom was. Delightful, wonderful, enchanting, charming, captivating, astonishing. She was the most remarkable person who seamlessly attracted people to her warmth and kindness. I'm yet to meet someone who disliked her and probably never will. She always made sure that she made time for people in her life, and she would listen to you in a way that made you feel like she really cared. She wasn't listening just to find a gap in your story where she could share her anecdote or story. She was more interested in what you had to say, which is a rare quality these days. She made the most effort with her friends than anyone else I know. She would remember a significant date or if someone was having a hard time, and she would make sure to message them and remind them that she was thinking of them or that she was there for them. She always tried to find something in common with people in her life and used that to build the most beautiful relationships with many different people from many different walks of life. She always had sound advice, no matter the circumstances, and her advice was always well thought out and useful. I'm going to miss her guidance and her many special messages. One of the best qualities of my mom was her ability to forgive, even those who I personally didn't think deserved it. She never wanted to harbor resentment towards someone because she had put time into that person and into that relationship. And when things went awry, it hurt her deeply. Her ability to forgive was something she consistently worked on throughout her life, and that the world was a better place for having her. I can only hope that one day I might emulate that. My mom was also one of the least judgmental people I know, a trait that I somehow seem to have picked up. She would joke like everyone else, but in her heart she accepted everyone for who they were. She always told me that people who had tattoos looked dirty and she wanted to scrub them. However, she embraced me and my tattoos and actually began judging the quality of other people's tattoos instead of judging the people. She even took photos of random people in New Zealand with tattoos and some pretty boys, apparently. She was always willing to learn new things and didn't ever want to be out of the loop when it came to technology, although we somehow discovered that she has 3 Facebook profiles. She was always trying to better herself through reading and research and podcasts and meditating, but even more important to her was bettering the world around her. She hated suffering and in fact even worked at Lifeline when she first met my dad. She gave of her time and tutored underprivileged kids until COVID harshed the vibe. She gave of her money as we recently discovered she was still donating to Meals on Wheels every month. I even remember going with her to donate food and help cook at a local church during xenophobic attacks. This is why we've asked you all to donate to Little Eden instead of bringing flowers, as this would have made her heart so happy to turn such a tragedy into something good. I have so many reasons to be grateful for my mom. For first, that she was my mom, my best friend, and my heart's twin. I've never once doubted her love for Scott and I. She made it so clear that we were her priority and she would do anything for us, including giving me her life savings in order to do a PhD. We shared so many things in our lives, our initials, our mannerisms, our birthdays. In fact, someone in the hospital even told us we looked the same, which we laughed at. If I turn out to be half the woman she was, I will consider my growth a success. She was the most incredible mother, always actively involved in our lives, from building blanket forts in the dining room, sitting on the floor playing with us while all the other adults were socializing, to supporting us at sport games, academic ceremonies, and reading to us every night as kids. She always wanted the best for us and was so proud of every achievement we accomplished. She strongly believed that we are the people we are because of her. And while I always like to debate nature versus nurture with her, I'm proud to say that I am who I am, and I am who I am is ingrained in me from her. I'm a product of her nurture. She always liked to tell people that when she tried to cuddle me as a kid, I would stiffen up and resist. But her nurture eroded that, and now touch is one of my strongest love languages. I'm sad that I never got to go through her New Zealand photos with her, but something significant stuck out of them, and that's Calla, her granddaughter. My mom absolutely adored being an Omi or a granny, and she told me she cried when she had to leave Calla at school on the last day after 3 months together. She always knew that kids weren't in the cards for me, and I think she resigned herself to the fact that her grandcats and surrogate grandchildren like Charlotte were going to have to be enough. But I'm so unbelievably thankful to Dwight and Karina, Miles and Kat, and Colin and Amy for allowing her to be an Omi, even if it was only for a few months. She made every occasion special. I still, at the age of 35, received Easter eggs every year. Whenever I came to Joburg, there's always a bag of jelly beans or speckled eggs on my pillow. She always bought me something from her most exotic travels, including most recently glow-in-the-dark sheep socks with little toes. She wanted me to know that she was thinking of me and always missed me. She made sure that I never felt overshadowed by her birthday and always tried to encourage it to be my birthday instead, always making sure that I felt special and spoiled. We both loved that we shared such a significant date in our lives, and it's something I believe brought us closer. Her love for everyone in her life was unlimited. She gave freely of her time, always making sure that everyone in her life felt special. And I think the crowd that she drew today to say goodbye is a great example of how many people were special to her. She touched so many people's lives and will undoubtedly leave a substantial gap in all of them. Mom, you were the center of my universe, the anchor of my life, and now I feel untethered and disoriented looking forward. I don't know how one says goodbye to their heart spirit, but I guess that's all that's left until we meet again.
Thank you, Claire. I know that was tough, but well done. I'm very glad Claire didn't have to hand it over to me, because her being an academic, there's a lot of long words in there. So thank you and well done. Next up is someone else who had an incredibly strong bond and relationship with Carol, and that is her firstborn, her eldest, her son Scott.
Good afternoon. Thank you for all attending. As with most of you over this time, I've been doing a lot of reflecting on the immense effects my mom had on my life. Over the past 10 days since her passing, I've been reminded of how far and how deep my mom's light has shone. And I've thought hard as how to express this phenomenon that was my mom. It's incredibly difficult to describe a person like her, and this has not been an easy task. For me, one word kept repeating in my head, a word that defines how she loved me, and a word I'm now going to use to try and describe my mom and the impact she had. That word is unconditional. The word unconditional means to be without condition, limitation, restriction or influence, and to be completely independent of judgment and reservation. All of these attributes describe my mom and her attitude to life. Everything about her was unconditional. I am everything because of my mom, my features, my characters, my routines, my attributes, my personality, my morals, the things I'm passionate about, and the way I live my daily life are all because of my mom and her teachings. She taught me what it means to be unconditionally empathetic and kind. In these things, she had no reservations, limitations, or restrictions. She taught me that a person's color, religion, background, situation, or condition does not represent how they should be treated or judged, and that all animals and people deserve kindness and empathy. From my first memories, Mom was always kind to those around her. She cared for everyone, felt everyone's pains, and she would stop at nothing to help those in need. No matter who you were, she treated you with empathy and kindness, and everyone felt as though they were her best friend. Whether it was her time, her money, her ear, her love, or her guidance, she would give of it unconditionally. From the first memory I have, my mom has given me her time. In every moment I can remember, she was always available to help me, to guide me, or support me. There has never been a moment when she did not have time for me. All my life she has given me her time unconditionally. I am the person I am today because of the meticulous time she spent raising me. Always available to speak to me, teach me, share with me, and help me through life's trials and tribulations. She read to us every night. She built fairy houses and tree houses with us. She played sport with us, did our homework with us, went to weddings and funerals with us, and spent endless hours on our holidays creating the most unforgettable memories for us. She was my best friend, my mentor, and my role model, and I will never forget the unconditional amount of time she shared with me. She taught me the meaning of friendship, and as my best friend solidified the qualities of what it means to be loyal and honest. She told me what I needed to hear and stood by my side through every decision I made. She met all my friends and my girlfriends and then became their friends. She fought for me and was my shoulder to cry on. We shared everything from our passions, music, authors, podcasts, meditations, and hobbies. I could not have asked for a better person to be my friend, for her friendship was unconditional. I am privileged to have been loved so unconditionally, to feel the safety of being loved endlessly and without limit or restriction, to have been given a love that nourishes and grows, and to know a love that requires no effort or maintenance. Her love for me was unconditional, and seeing all of you here, I can see for you too, her love and influence was just as unconditional. It has always been clear to me how many people's lives my mom touched and how far-reaching and unconditional her impact and light has been. In all of us, her memory will live on unconditionally like the stars in the sky. Until we meet again, Mommy, you are my shining star with your unconditional light filling my world. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. That was lovely. And I can now understand things a bit better when your mom was in New Zealand about where all these fort building skills came from, because she still puts them to use. So, yeah. As you've heard, family is obviously something that was very near, dear and important to Carol. But also, those of you that are her friends will know just as importantly what friends were to her and what they meant, and that she had so many lifelong friends. So please join me in just welcoming up Margie Allison, who's one of Carol's oldest and dearest friends, to share a few words.
Testing.
Good.
Good afternoon. Firstly, thank you, Dwight, for keeping us all informed during those last terrible days of Carol's life. Really appreciate it. 13/3/23 will always be remembered as one of the saddest days of my life, and I'm sure the same goes for all of you. You are born into this life and leave it, that's a certainty. But it is what you do with your life and how you affect and touch the lives of others that is important as to how you leave your mark. When the family asked me to say a few words, I said I would be honoured, and I am. But how do you condense a lifetime of 57 years into a few words? What always reminds me of Carol is some of the words in Tom Jones's lyrics to the song She's a Lady. She's got style, she's got grace. In all the years, this never changed. She always dressed elegantly and exuded style and class. Take, for example, her scarves. She has often tried to show Celia and I how to tie the scarves, but for the life of us, we could never copy the elegant way she wore those scarves. I met Carol at Parktown Girls High School. We both started in 1966. She wasn't in my class, but her best friend and neighbour at the time, Leslie Campbell, was, and we became firm friends. We all lived in Parkhurst, so the three of us would often commute to school and from by either bicycles or by bus. Soon we were at each other's houses after school, and then Silly, who was my next door neighbour, met Carol and Leslie and became part of our circle. Silly and I were rebels in Parkhurst, and as much as we tried to infect Carol with our mischievous ways, she would have none of it, but she enjoyed our friendship. She must have if she decided to remain friends to all of us. We thought she was so cool. The first time we were invited to Carol's house in 21st Street. We thought she was so rich. There was a pool at her house. Wow! She always dressed well and had a great figure, which we envied. She often had other friends over and we would be offered cool drinks and snacks. They were the best days. We were a bit scared of Carol's mom. She was a feisty little lady with a German accent, but Carol would laugh and tell us that she was the best mom. Our friendship grew stronger, and as we grew older and left school to find jobs in different industries, we still found time to meet at least once a month for lunches or dinner and swap stories of our work life, boyfriends and diets, always conscious of our figures as young girls do. I remember how we used to lie to our mothers and sneak off to nightclubs in Hillbrow. Silly reminded me of the Marrakesh, which we would go to on Wednesday nights to meet prowling for interesting guys. We were never scared being out at night in those days, and the odd hitchhiking pastime to get to Hellbrow was never a problem as we were in a group and we were fearless. I'm so sorry, Claire and Scott, if I'm revealing things that you may have thought your mother would never get up to. But there you go, you can blame Celia and I. It seems then that maybe we did infect her with our mischievousness a little bit. There was a time when we moved on to serious parts of our lives. We got married and had families of our own. There were several sad events and hard times for all of us, but we had each other to lean on in difficult times. We would open our hearts to each other and talk about our problems, share our successes and the good things. We supported each other through various illnesses and operations, thick and thin. That's what friends are for, right? Over the years, we lived our lives with our families and moved houses into other suburbs, but we never failed to keep in touch and often planned social lunches or dinners, visits at our respective homes. I am grateful that I knew such a great lady and that she welcomed me as a friend, and I'm so happy that I got to know her and spend time with her. I will miss her smile, her cheeky laugh, and most of all, her warmth and grace. I celebrate her life. Cheers to vous. That's what we used to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Margie. I'm still more shocked that Carol hitchhikes or went to nightclubs. I'm still in disbelief. But no, thank you for those stories. On the program, we did have Maria, who was going to talk next, but as I'm sure many of you will understand and sympathise with, Maria has just said there's no words to describe how she's still feeling and the loss left by Carol. So another person now to speak up is someone who's been around, especially those that don't know the camping crowd. They're usually the rowdy lot and they'll be here until the golf course kicks them out. She's been one of those crew for a long time and been a very important person in all of our lives, and has built, especially recently, has built a very strong relationship with Carol. So please welcome up Laura Durok.
To say my heart is shattered is an understatement. Over these past few years, dearest Carol, you grew to be my pillar of strength, my sanity, my shoulder to lean on and to cry on. You were there to help me through the most difficult time of my life when I lost the love of my life. You were a loving, caring, compassionate friend and always there. A phone call or message, popping in for coffee, you were there and reached out in some way almost every day. You just cared on another level, and for this I will be eternally grateful. I hope that the love and gratitude I felt came through, as I could never express just how much every gesture meant to me. There is something I need to ask for forgiveness for. You all know our friend was always well groomed and paid meticulous attention to her appearance. She had style and she was pure class, even when camping. Before she went into hospital, we were chatting and she was telling me what she needed from me over the next few days. As we covered her to-do list, she was insisting that she wanted to leave her nail polish on her toes. I said that normally they make you take it off if you're going into theatre, and I then promised her that I'd paint her toes when she came out of theatre. She wasn't too happy, but after some convincing, eventually agreed. Unfortunately, I didn't get to keep this promise. So Carol, I'm sorry, but she still looked so beautiful. It's mind-blowing that that little body could carry such a big heart. You have left a void in my life and will be dearly missed. I love you, my friend. On behalf of our sisterhood group, which was started by Carol, comprising of all the camping crowd ladies, collectively, we would like to thank you for your years of friendship. Dearest Carol, from the day Carl introduced you to us, you crept right into our hearts. You were always fully present and committed to whatever it was that was going on. You did all of this with a smile on your face, no matter how silly or crazy we were. You did everything with style and class. Thank you for being you. Thank you for loving and caring for Carl, Dwight and Miles. It's not an easy task blending two families, but you stepped up and loved and cared like only you could. You loved them all equally. Your pride and joy, your grandbabies. Kella, who you were blessed to share special moments with, we received all the granny brag photos and the stories of your precious moments together. Your excitement to meet baby Oliver was too precious to see, but unfortunately it was not to be. He is so ridiculously cute and you would have loved him. Clarence Scott, you were your mum's pride and joy. Your mum loved you so much. You were truly blessed with a wonderful mum. Go forward, live your lives and continue to make her proud. She'll be watching you. The children have all been phenomenal throughout this ordeal and have shown great courage. We wish you all strength as you walk this long road of healing. Please know that we are here for you all, and we'll assist where we can. We're just a call away.
Thank you, Laura, and well done for rocking the white. Carol will be very proud. So, our last speaker for today is someone who's known Carol a very, very long time, one of her oldest and dearest friends, Rita Wise. So please just join me in welcoming Rita up onto the platform.
Thank you for the honour of being asked to say some words. I have known Carol all my life. I never met her, she was just always there. We grew up on the same street and our parents were friends, especially our mothers. Therefore, Carol is bound up, part and parcel of my earliest memories. She has been a constant and reassuring presence for my whole life. All of us here today who knew Carol would have memories of her, and each one of us would be able to stand up here and tell stories of times together and what Carol meant in our lives. These are some of mine, and I do not want to call them memories because they do not only belong in the past. I will take them forward with me into the future, something to cling to hold on to. Carol had a great lust for life and possessed incredible energy. We all felt it and fed off it. I certainly did. First, her physical energy. From the time she was young, she was always strong and healthy and liked to be busy. Like her mother Marion, she could tackle anything. Painting, fixing, sewing, cooking, gardening, baking, organising, entertaining, she did it all with gusto and confidence. She never doubted her physical strength and ability. If she wanted to paint a room, she just painted it. If she wanted to move furniture around, she just moved it. As recently as a few years ago, Carol decided to clean up the park area next to their cluster home. It bugged her that everything was overgrown and unkempt, and she just went and started to clean it up. Yes, she did rope in a few out-of-work chaps to help her, but she was more than happy to get stuck in herself. This was so typical of Carol. The world is divided into those who are dreamers and those who are doers, and Carol was a doer. If there is a word that is the opposite of lazy, then that word could be applied to Carol. The period of my life when I was closest to Carol was when our children were growing up. Carol's energy as a mother and a homemaker knew no bounds. Playdates, children's parties, afternoon teas, dinner parties, weekends away, shared Christmas holidays by the sea. Carol was just the best person to be with. Organised, strong, and fun-loving. I think in the last few years, when Carol started to have a few health issues, it puzzled and frustrated her that her body was letting her down a bit. She would say, "I have to accept that I'm not bulletproof." But I sensed that slowing down was something she was finding rather difficult. And now her spiritual energy. Carol's warmth, her strong presence, her verve, her joie de vivre. Even as a youngster, Carol's personality was larger than life. She was just such fun to be with. I loved being around Carol. She had the ability to charge me up. If I was with Carol, I felt so safe. I just knew that she always had my back and that the situation was under control. It was this warmth and strength of personality that enabled Carol to make friends and keep friendships throughout her life. Carol did not always have an easy time, and there were periods during her life when she was very low indeed. But she always had this deep down strength of character that enabled her to pull through. Carol had courage, both physical courage and she had moral courage. And it was in this area that she has my greatest admiration. Although she was not raised in any religion, she had very strong Judaic Christian values. She was a true liberal, never judgmental, always accepting of all people, regardless of their background or belief, and I mean accepting. She was interested and enthralled by people from all walks of life and different points of view, and she was one of the very few people I know who was truly non-racist. In her working career, she would stand up often for the marginalized, and she was not afraid to speak out. She certainly challenged me in this area. Even when quite young, I could see that Carol was a good person, more loving, more forgiving than most, more able to spread happiness and joy around her, more determined to make the world a better place. She was more Christian than many churchgoers I knew, and this puzzled me. I remember I asked my mother about it, and I don't remember what she said, but it slowly began to dawn on me that it was not enough to believe in something intellectually, one had to live it. And it was Carol who opened my eyes to this. Carol had a great capacity for love and forgiveness. She would always say, "Reet, life is too short to hold grudges." When her parents divorced in the early 70s, Carol was devastated and struggled to come to terms with the situation. But somehow she managed to keep up good relations with everyone, including Val, who was her Father Bill's new life partner. I think it says a lot about Carol that she not only accepted Val, but remained in touch with her long after her father died and was even present at her deathbed. Incredible what love and forgiveness can do. In light of this character trait, it came as no surprise. In fact, it was something of pure delight to all of us when Carol met Carl and a new chapter in her life began. How wonderful it was for all of us to see these two lovely people have a second chance of experiencing love. It was not always easy for both families, but in her Carol way, she kept pressing forward and upwards and onwards, and she made it work. Carol accompanied me through this journey of life. Now it has ended, tragically and too soon. But I have one consolation which I will hold close to my heart forever. This wonderfully loving, energy-filled, fun-filled, courageous and special person was my friend. And I believe that she loved me. And to be loved by someone like her, well, that's very close to being in heaven. And I would like to end by reading a Celtic blessing. God our Father, we thank you that you have made each of us in your own image and given us gifts and talents with which to serve you. We thank you for Carol, the years we shared with her, the good we saw in her, the love we received from her. Now give us strength and courage to leave her in your care, confident in your promise of eternal life. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Rita, for those touching and beautiful words. That's really wonderful. Thank you. And Stephen for the moral support. Much appreciated. Thank you to all our speakers. I think I speak for everyone to say thank you for battling through and triumphing through your emotions so that we could all share in these wonderful stories and memories of Carol. So thank you. And on the thank yous, before we just end the formalities, a few more. Just thank you to Royal Joburg for hosting us and making it so effortless. It's obviously been quite a tough period getting through this, so thank you for that. And then on that, thank you to Amy and Colin, as well as Cordy and Wendy, just for making that happen for us. Alex McKellar, thank you for just helping getting an invite out as quick and as brilliantly as you did. And then to my wife, Karina, for helping with the program as well as the slideshow today. I think the word that stuck out for me today is class, and just give Carol that class that she appreciated. And then to Alex de Barros, just thank you for keeping all the photos together. There's 198 of them for reference. That's a fair few. We'll get onto that shortly, but thank you, Alex, and also that keeping my dad and helping him just be in check with the wine list for today before we all had a 52 bottle wine tasting. So thank you, Alex. In closing, please just remember the gift register, the attendance book and message book just in the front. It would be greatly appreciated if everyone could just leave a note there. On the back of the program, you will also find details for Little Eden, should you wish to make a donation or do anything in lieu of Carol. That would be much appreciated. As Claire alluded to, Carol is a very kind and giving person. So we just thought that would be the best way to remember her. And we ask if you do that, if you follow the instructions of try to make it simple, you will also get your donation certificate back on the end of that. Nearly there. Cool. There will be some light refreshments and some drinks served after this. Please feel free to help yourself. There's a select wine, as I said, thanks to Cole and Alex, so that will be very good. Everything else will just be for your own account. Please just be aware this is a cashless facility. But you can just grab one of the waiters and they'll be able to help sort you out. Then the last thing, let's come together as a community, as a people, as a family. Let's celebrate Carol. Let's revel in the stories. I think I need to find out a bit more about Hillbrow. Thank you all for wearing the beautiful colours and next to calves. Let's just celebrate, let's remember Carol for the beautiful person she was and that she brought this room together and loved and cared for all of us. Rita summed it up perfectly. To be loved by Carol, which is essentially if she knew you, was a fantastic and beautiful thing. So on that, thank you all for coming. And I'll just leave you. It is the people. It is the people. It is the people. Thank you. Sorry, one last thing. You always forget one thing. There will be a slideshow up. But please feel free, you can sit and continue to watch it if you want. It is just going to play on loop. Given it's 198 slides, it is about 20 minutes. But it will just be up. Feel free to now help yourself to drinks or watch the slideshow as you wish, please. Thank you.